what's up everyone? And once again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, blah 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 blah. That's not the reason why I'm doing this video. I'm doing this video most importantly because, well, I know I'm very far behind on my movies, which I am definitely overdue to review. So, without further ado, instead of reviewing one and then the other and then the other in separate reviews, screw this, why not just do it in a three-part review? Well, shortened in just one. You know, kill three birds with one stone. What the hell? Some rules are just meant to be broken, at least in my books. So, this is what I call the three-novel movie review, threesome, whatever you call it. So, first one, Thor, The Dark World. What did I think of this? Yeah, I had a lot of hopes and anticipation for this one. Of course, Chris Hemsworth, the hammer-toiting god of Asgard, returning for a sequel, unless you can consider the Avengers, which obviously takes place after Thor, and it follows through pretty well for the most part. Although I did question how, even though it shows Natalie Portman's character Jane in the Avengers, well, on a computer screen, obviously, but obviously it brings her back, and all the other returning cast members return, as well as Loki, too, himself. But it follows up with the Avengers pretty well, and the plot outline, like the first Thor movie, yeah, it explains itself in narration pretty well, actually. So, even if you didn't read the comic books like I haven't, and of course, yeah, this is a comic book movie, not a novel-based movie, even though I call this a three-part novel-based review. So, come on, let this slide. It's a comic book. I mean, Christ, let this one slide compared to the other two, which I'm about to review next. But, yeah, overall the story is pretty elaborate, and it follows through as a pretty good sequel. It has what you'd expect if you enjoyed the first one. A lot of action, a lot of CGI, of course, but hey, what movie nowadays doesn't use CGI? But it looks pretty good, and of course you see more of Asgard that you haven't before. The development of characters is pretty well done, and it, of course, does have a lot of silly humor as well, and, you know, the fish out of water story, but it doesn't spend as much time on Earth, though, unless it spends more time in Asgard and all the other 9 realms here and there. And like I said, it follows through with the Avengers pretty well. And, yes, there is a scene during and after the credits. Now, the one during the middle of the credits is important, and it is key, I'm sure, to the upcoming, I'm sure there's going to be one sequel at least, but most importantly, the Avengers 2. I don't think I have to really spoil too much, but go and see it, and you'll believe me on this one. And the one after the credits is not as pointless as the one after the credits of the first Avengers movie, so it has some purpose compared to that one. So, but overall, great action, and pretty well done for a sequel. I would say even better than Iron Man 3, for sure. Definitely say the best Marvel film of this year, most definitely. So my final verdict? Yeah, despite a few, you know, silly moments here and there, and yes, Stan Lee does have a cameo appearance. You'll see him. You'll notice him, like you will in every other one of his Marvel films. Rockin' Wii Remote with Wii Motion Plus and up, and just a plain Wii Remote up on this one. I think that's a fair rating. So, now the next part is The Hunger Games, the second book, movie, based off Catching Fire. Yeah, I had a lot of anticipation for this one, and yes, I finally caught up on reading all the novels, so I'm all set to see all the movies if they ever come out, which obviously the next part is due up to release next year, even though it's going to be broken up in 2 parts. But let's not jump the gun. How did I like this movie? I absolutely loved it. It was great. I'd say in most parts even better than Part 1, The Hunger Games. Not that I didn't like that one. It is criticizable, I know, with the shaky camera and all the chop shots and everything and all the cinematography being messy here and there and lack of character development. But of course, when I went to see the first one, I didn't read the book yet, so I was pretty clueless with the whole concept of the movie and the characters and the whole story behind the Hunger Games and all this nonsense and sponsors and all that nonsense. But now that I have read the books, I pretty much caught myself up and I knew what to expect out of this one. And I could say I was really impressed. First of all, if you're worried about the shaky camera issues that were present in the first one, not to worry, they are all gone in this one. The camera angling is perfect. I mean, it's well done. It's so much better improved. The character development, it's all there. But if you haven't read the novel like the first movie, I would catch yourself up on this one. I would say all the scenes, all the characters are just, what can you say? It's just well done. It's a huge improvement over the first one. There's not much to say. Of course, like the first one, it does dumb itself down to a PG-13 rating, if you can really call it that, dumbing itself down for a wider audience, and make it more appropriate for kids to be able to watch it. Of course, you got the nudity scene in the elevator, but of course they don't really show it in in graphic form. It did seem a little bit rushed at few parts, but what do you really expect? There's really only so much you can put in the movie. I mean, it's like any other novel-based movie. Of course, they have to abridge some parts. But especially at the end, it did feel a little bit rushed. And, for most of you complaining that it leaves you on a cliffhanger, well, of course, I mean, it's setting up for the next, novel-based movie. Kind of like with The Empire Strikes Back of Star Wars, and, of course, like the next movie, which I'm about to review, but let's not jump the gun. It's well done for the most part, and overall, I can say... Yep. My final verdict is a rockin' Wii Motion Plus up and a plain Wii Remote up. I think that's a fair rating. So, yeah. The next one and the last one, which I just saw recently, not too long ago, well, yesterday to be exact. The Hobbit, The Decimation of Smaug. Yes, of course. There's a lot of criticism around why this is broken up in 3 parts, even though it's not even that big of a book. Well, I guess Peter Jackson had a good reason, but more or less, I'm sure it's all about making him richer, and as if he didn't make enough money off the Lord of the Rings trilogy and King Kong and all those other movies he did. But, hey, you know what? Maybe it's good to get engaged with these movies, Get to know the characters a lot better. I think he did explain a good reason for breaking it up in 3 parts, although I did enjoy the first one, even though they could have ended it there. But hey, who's to say we have to end it there? Let's make it more of a longer journey, and I could say the journey was pretty well done this time around. Not that I didn't like the first one, but hey, I love this one too just as much. It's not fair to compare. It's like trying to compare the Lord of the Rings sequels to the first one. Well, though I did like the third one the best out of 3 of them, but that's not the point. This one was so well done. I mean, yeah, it's the same as you'd expect. The cinematography is brilliant, the acting is awesome, and of course it brings in more characters that are fresh off the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like, of course, Orlando Bloom's character. I mean, who couldn't argue? That character kicks ass. And it has some of the same slapstick, of course, here and there, and a couple of funny moments. And the action scenes are just so well done. But of course, it has an excessive length of nearly 3 hours, and you're probably wondering, wow, they couldn't just take a little bit longer to end it there? I do agree so myself at some terms, but hey, gotta do what you gotta do, and you gotta make the best of it, right? Might as well savor the moments, right? End it well, which is supposed to end, I believe, next July in The Hobbit there and back again. So, yeah, of course, not to spoil anything, but it does sort of leave you on a cliffhanger. So, just like the last one did. But, overall, very impressed. If you saw it in IMAX 3D, it's not bad. It didn't really have too much 3D in comparison to the last one, which really had some really impressive 3D. Yeah, I mean, I guess for some of the shots, like when you're high up on the mountains and stuff, it's pretty good, but I don't know. The 3D is not really necessary this time around. But overall, yeah, I liked it. It was really good. It was very well done. Peter Jackson, again, should be very proud of himself for not ditching this series. I'm actually glad he stuck with The Hobbit, considering it's a prequel to one of his most beloved trilogies, which is based off a beloved novel series. Overall, well done, Peter Jackson. I can't wait for the stunning conclusion to this series, even though I know what's yet to come. So overall, this one, rockin' Wii Motion Plus up and a plain Wii Remote up. Hopefully that's not too harsh, but come on, it's great, people. Go see it. So, thus ends my 3-part review. Happy holidays.